What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Revival. My name is JJ, and it's time to talk about the 20 games that I knocked off my backlog in 2023. So, as I mentioned in a previous video, I think it was actually my last video that I released, I'm doing things a little bit differently this year. When I talk about the games, I usually do 2 videos of 10 each, rapid fire reviews, and just kind of give some quick thoughts over what I thought of them. This year, I asked my Discord for some input and to ask to see like what might be a different way of approaching it. And so what we came up with is kind of that, but also in a format of ranking them, like I did my top 100 games. So you're going to get 4 videos with 5 games on each, with me just kind of spitballing on how I felt, but they're ranked from the one I loved the least to the one I loved the most. So I don't know if this is going to be the preferred method moving forward, but I figured I'd give it a shot because I thought it sounded kind of neat. These are all like this. It's so arbitrary because these are games on my backlog, obviously, so they're just completely random from no specific period in time. It's literally just how much I enjoyed playing them as I was playing them throughout the year. But there's games like from the 90s in here and really recent games, and just like it's all over the map. So don't think this is like any sort of like definitive ranking that anybody has to follow about any specific. Like, this is just totally random. But it's the games that I played last year. Quite frankly, I still played more games than this. Again, this won't include any new games. This is all just the 20 that I listed in my 2023 Backlog Blitz video, which if you go to my channel, you'll see that video on there. You can see the list of 20 games that I was planning on playing this year. So I also want to say I really didn't hate any of the games. So none of these were like, oh god, this was terrible. This was actually hard to rank because they were... I really enjoyed my time with most of them, and all of them, I like I said, I didn't hate. I liked some quite a bit better than others. So, anyways, enough rambling about that. But I think you get the idea. So, without further ado, we'll get into the first 5, and that is 20 through 16. We'll go ahead and start with number 20. Here we go. Coming in at number 20 on this list is The World Ends With You on the Nintendo DS. Like I said, this list was really hard to put together. I didn't hate any of these games, and I certainly didn't hate this. It just happened to be the one that I found the least enjoyment out of all 20 games, but that doesn't mean I didn't find some in there. I really liked the art style. I thought it was super unique, and it was just really fun to look at. Honestly, if you've never heard of it or never played it, go check out some screenshots, because it's super unique. It's like nothing I've ever seen before, and that honestly includes the story. The story is like really unique as well. It's just a unique game altogether. It didn't like super resonate with me as far as the gameplay goes. That's kind of why this is the lowest on my list. I just wasn't crazy about the battle system and the combat. So anytime I would get into combat in the game, having to use the stylus and doing all this weird stuff, paying attention to both screens and like trying to get the movements right and stuff like that, some of it wasn't responsive, and it was just awkward at times, and I didn't enjoy that aspect, and so every time I got into combat, I would just be like, oh great, here we go. But once I got out of combat and I was back to like the story and exploring the world and all that stuff, I thought it was great. It was a lot of fun, and like I said, it was absolutely beautiful. So that's my number 20 on this list. That is The World Ends With You on the Nintendo DS. At number 19 is a game that I was looking forward to playing so much, and once I started playing it, like, I've played a little bit of it before, and enjoyed what I played, and so I was really excited to move on eventually, and so I threw it on the list for this year. That is Robotrek on the Super Nintendo. I really like the way it looks. I love the sprites. I love the art. I think the concept is cool. Like, designing your own robots and actually like putting their stats in and everything like that and all this stuff, like, it gives the illusion of customization, but there's really not a lot, because if you don't design your robots a specific way, it's going to be tough to get through that game. I tried a couple of different things on my own and just kept getting demolished. There's really, maybe it's me, maybe I'm just dumb when it comes to that kind of stuff, but I tried to like play it my way, and it just was not working. I was getting wrecked left and right. And then I started following some guides online, and all the guides pretty much told me kind of to do the same types of strategies. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll do this. And then it worked, and the game was like laughably easy after that. And so that kind of was like disappointing to me. Also, I remember the dungeons being way longer than I would have liked. And again, I mentioned that to somebody else, and they were like, really? I don't remember that. And I thinking about it, I think that may have been my own fault, because I was fighting every single battle. I wasn't running for everything or anything, and you can avoid enemies pretty easily. So I was dragging things out. So that may have been my own fault. But I just remember being ready to be done when I was at the end of it. And the biggest downfall for me was just the whole not being able to play my way, even though I really wanted to. In addition to, you design 3 robots, and you only get to use 1 at a time in battle, which I was really looking forward to having a party of robots that I customized all 3, and all, which isn't the case. So it was just things that I would have liked that didn't happen. But it was still an enjoyable experience for the most part. I'm glad I got to play it, because it's hailed as a classic to a lot of people, and I definitely didn't hate it. It wasn't the fun time that I was expecting it to be. So that's Robotrek on Super Nintendo. Next up at number 18 is another game that I played a little bit of years ago and was so excited to put on this list. That is The Lord of the Rings: The Third Age on PS2. In a kind of reversal, the gameplay was awesome. I loved it. It's Final Fantasy X gameplay, where you're having turn-based, but you're switching out parties in and out of battle on the fly. You have abilities that you learn over time as you're going through the story and everything. The concept is so cool. You start out as you're basically like a soldier from Gondor, and you're following the Fellowship in their wake, like trying to catch up to them so you can help. You never quite get there though, and about like a third of the way to maybe halfway through, something happens and the story kind of becomes your own. But it's very linear, and honestly, I just kind of like felt like there was so much padding in the way of how long some of the dungeons were, or areas, whatever. There were no towns to go to, no people to talk to. There was no real adventure, no real sense of adventure to me. It was just like, basically like if you just took the amazing gameplay of Final Fantasy X and just put that into a game with no real focus, that's kind of how this was. I enjoyed that aspect, and that's what kept me going, was the gameplay, because I really, really liked it. I love Final Fantasy X's gameplay, so I had a good time with that. But the story itself, I just lost interest towards the end. I was just like, all right, let's wrap it up. Come on. The cutscenes were cool, but most of the cutscenes in the game were just literally just clipped from the movie and thrown in there. So it was an interesting experience. I would love to recommend it, but it's really hard for me to do so. I would love to see like some sort of a remake or a reimagining of something like this, because I think the concept is awesome. A lot like Robotrek. I think the concept is great. The building blocks are there. I just think that so much more can be done with that. So hopefully, I don't know, fingers crossed, in the future some developer out there, gets a spark and is like, yeah, you know what, I think we can build on this. So who knows? We'll see. At number 17 is Final Fantasy Adventure. Another game that I really thought that I was going to have a better time with. It was good. There was so much backtracking, and I know this is like a product of its time, because back then that's kind of what RPGs were. There was tons of backtracking in those games, so I get it. But in this game, it wasn't always clear where you were supposed to go or what you're supposed to do, so there was a lot of wandering around aimlessly in addition to the backtracking, and so that kind of compiled with each other was a little rough on me. I thought the gameplay was solid. It's it's the beginning of the Mana series, so I really enjoyed it. But Final Fantasy Adventure to me has always been like the game that I wanted to go back to because it was Game Boy Zelda with experience points, and to a certain extent it was that, but it just felt a little emptier to me. So I don't know. The weapons are cool. The gameplay, it's like if you were to describe the game to somebody, it sounds really great, and all the components are there for something special. I just found myself kind of bored with it, and normally I'm really good about putting myself in the time frame, like, and being like, okay, well, this game came out in the 90s, so I got to put myself in a 90s mindset, and then I just go from there, and usually that doesn't, affect my judgment of it. Maybe it did in this case, I don't know. I felt like I was playing an old, dated game that had so many things that it could have been done a lot better, even for the time. So that's why I was a little with it, but it was still. I'm so glad that I finally got it done because I've been wanting to knock it off the backlog for years. It's one that I've had there for so long, so I'm really glad that I finished it and was able to play it. I'm thinking about at some point playing one of the, because I know it's been remade numerous times under other titles, so I might try that one of those. If there is a good version of that game, like a better one that'll give a better experience for maybe something I'm looking for. Let me know in the comments, because I would love to check that out. Because again, it's another one of those where the concepts were all there. It just didn't hit me like I wanted it to. So I don't know. But that's Final Fantasy Adventure on the Game Boy. I played it on the Switch though. And finally, at number 16, talk about games I was excited to play and having fallen flat. I might catch hell for this. Mother 3. I was so excited to play this because I have been hearing for years about, like, Earthbound's great, but Mother 3 is just, it doesn't even come close, and all this, everything. And just how amazing Mother 3 is, and how much better than Earthbound it is, and just, it needs to come out overseas, and I don't disagree with that. I think it should be released over here, just like Earthbound Beginnings was. But as I was playing through it, the personality is still there, and I think the heart is still there, but the amount of just, like, needless stuff, like, why is this in the game? There's so many characters that you play as that aren't even, like, it could have just been left in as, like, a quick cutscene or a quick, blurb or something like that didn't matter. Like, the monkey, you play as a monkey for a while, and he's a cute, goofy little character, but he doesn't really do much, and his abilities are kind of garbage in the game, and, like, I shouldn't say the abilities are garbage, but the amount of times that the abilities actually work is garbage, because there's so many cool things that some of these characters can do in combat, but it misses, like, 80% of the time, and so I was just like, this is dumb. So I found myself just button mashing and trying to attack everything and just get through it, because it was like, I got tired of just sitting there waiting for moves to stick. And so, like, I would look at a guide and it would say, like, oh, you can sleep this boss, and it'll make things a lot easier. I'm like, oh, sweet, cool. 11, 12 turns go by and I'm still hitting the same attack trying to get him to sleep and nothing. And it's just like, that wasn't a one-time deal. That was throughout the entire game. It just, the special abilities and all this stuff, it just, oh my gosh, the only thing that helped was just buffs. Like, I could buff my characters and make them stronger, and so I could attack harder. And that was, like, about it. But man, some of those attacks it was infuriating how few and far between the actual accuracy worked out in my favor. I thought the story was pretty solid. I just think they could have done away with, like, half the cast, because there really wasn't any point to a lot of them. And that, again, like I said, goes hand in hand with the combat. They're just like, why is this character even here? He's not adding anything to my party other than he's missing all the time. It was just a frustrating experience. But again, so much wasted potential, and if you love that game, that's great. That's awesome. I know so many people who adore it and think it's amazing. And quite frankly, I think if you're an Earthbound fan, it's worth checking out. By all means, go for it. Give it a shot. It definitely is not for me. It's not something I'll be revisiting anytime soon, even if it does get re-released, unless there are some major changes to some of the mechanics and accuracy. It did not hit it for me. So yeah, that's Mother 3, and I played it on Game Boy Advance. There you have it, guys. There's the first 5 on my list. We are going to keep moving. Next week should have the next 5 out. They'll be 15 through 11. So look forward to that coming up. And let me know what you think of this format. If you like this better than the way I used to do the other ones. And if you're new here, welcome. Thanks. Hi. I'm glad to see you. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Like I said, this list is completely arbitrary, and it's not like anything specific, or this is literally just 20 games I had lying around that I wanted to beat last year that I have not beaten before. And so that's all this is. I'm just ranking them for fun. It's more about just getting my thoughts across on how I feel about each game. So I just thought the added ranking thing, and Discord agreed that this might be a neat little thing to do. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, keep on gaming.